And as the learned men thus sat together, and I in my heart applied to them the text, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity, we heard a great commotion in the vestibule before the entrance, and before we were aware of what had taken place, a woman rushed in with great force to where the learned men reclined at the banquet. Then the servants pursued her and sought to restrain her, but the master of the house made a sign that they leave her be. And the woman was draped in delicate stuffs of Zidon, many-coloured, in the manner of women of ill fame, and her hair was not, after the manner of Jewish women, concealed, but it fell over her neck and her bosom, and likewise there hung on her body, by a golden chain, an alabaster vial with refined and delicate ointment, the scent whereof was spread abroad in all the house. For this is the manner of rich women, who wear such vials on their necks. But this woman was barefoot, and she stretched forth her hands and asked, Who among ye is that wonderful man who hath called to all and sundry, Come unto me, ye that are heavy laden, and I will give you rest? And when there came no answers from any one of them, she looked among the learned men and the Pharisees who reclined at the banquet, and she sought with thirsting eyes until she perceived our Rabbi. Then she drew near and fell at his feet and wept bitterly, and the tears which ran from her eyes fell on our Rabbi's feet and washed them. And when she saw that her tears had wet the feet of the Rabbi, she took her hair and she dried them, and she kissed them with the lips of her mouth. Then she took the vial of alabaster which hung at her throat, and wherein was contained the costly oil of myrrh, and she poured the oil on the feet of our Rabbi, and anointed them. And when the scribes and the learned men that sat about the table saw this, they smiled, and they said to each other, If he were a prophet, he would know what manner of woman this is. For the woman was a sinner, and she was known in the town and thereabouts, and she came from the city of Migdal. And the learned men thought that she had come into the city to spread her net for the rich men of Naim. And they thought moreover that she anointed the feet of the Rabbi with the ointments wherewith she awakened the lust of her lovers, that they might lust after her. And they said, If he were a prophet, he would know who the woman is. But the learned men knew not that the woman had repented, and that she had come with blind Bar-Talmai, who had brought her hither in the footsteps of the Rabbi, after they had sought him in Capharnaum, and he was gone. And the precious raiment which she had put on was not put on that she might increase her beauty, but to do honor to our Rabbi. And so it was with the precious ointment. But beneath the silk raiment, her heart was filled with repentance. But all this was known to our Rabbi, and he said, Simon, I will ask a question of thee. There was a creditor who had 2 debtors. One of them owed him 500 dinars, and the other owed him 50 dinars. And when they were unable to pay, he made a gift to both of them of their debt to him. Now tell me, which of the debtors will thank him and love him more? And Simon answered, Assuredly, he whose remitted debt was the greater. Thereupon my Rabbi spoke and answered, Thou hast judged rightly, Simon. And now mark, I came into thy house, and thou didst not give me water to wash my feet. But this woman washed my feet with her tears, and wiped them with the hair of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but since she entered, she hath not ceased to kiss my feet. Thou didst not anoint my head with oil, but she hath anointed my feet with costly oil. Therefore I say unto thee, her sins shall be forgiven her, for she hath loved much. And to the woman he said, Thy sins are forgiven thee, thy faith hath helped thee, go in peace. And when the Pharisees and the learned men heard this, there was much commotion among them. And they stood up from the feast where they had reclined, and they asked of each other, Now who is this that can forgive sins? How is this thing? Because the woman kissed his feet and anointed them with her sinful oil, therefore shall her sins be forgiven her? And others asked, What, is he a prophet sent of God that he can remit sins? And my rabbi answered them naught, but he turned to Simon the Pharisee, who had remained reclining on his couch of ivory, and he had been so moved that his face was pale, and his black beard trembled, and his eyes sparkled. Simon, hast thou seen how the party to the dispute came and delivered the treasure into my hand? But Simon answered him, Thou canst not cite the sinful in proof. Sinners are not admitted to testimony. And my rabbi answered, They that are whole have no need of a physician, but the sick have need of a physician. And I say unto you, that the sick are more whole than the whole. For he that is whole knoweth not that he is sick, but the sick man knoweth it. And he turned to the Pharisees and the learned, and he said, The broken heart is nigh unto God. And did not Isaiah say, I that dwell in the high and holy place dwell with him who hath been thrust away and is lowly, in order that I may comfort the spirit of the lowly, and lift up the heart of those that are thrust away. What have ye done that these words might be brought about? Woe unto you, ye Pharisees, for ye love the high places in the synagogue, and to be greeted in the streets. Woe unto you, ye scribes, ye hypocrites, for you are like whited sepulchres. And when the learned heard these words, they became pale of countenance, and they arose in their places, and they asked, Who is this man who taketh unto himself the right to speak such words? And one of them turned to our rabbi and said, Rabbi, and thou sayest these things, thou offerest us offense. And the rabbi answered, Woe unto you, ye learned men, for ye do place burdens on the people which are heavy to bear, and you will not touch the burden so much as with your finger. But the learned men answered, That is not true, for we observe the laws and commandments. You do observe them, like a trade which hath been learned, in order that you may boast yourselves of it. You come early to the houses of prayer, and stay there long, that men may point their fingers at you. You pour ashes on your heads, and tear your clothes, so that it may be seen that ye fast. But you will not open a place at your tables for the people. You drive them from your houses, that they may not make unclean your vessels. You cleanse the platter and the cup without, but within it is full of filth. Therefore your houses and your vessels are unclean, and the eating at your tables is the eating of carrion, the sacrifices of the dead, for ye have driven the people away. And of him that sitteth with you it hath been written, He shall sit in the seat of the scornful. And when he had spoken these words, our rabbi arose and went forth from the house of the Pharisee and the table of the learned, concerning which I had thought it was written, How good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together, and which had been turned into a stone of contention.